Well, Exquisite sent over kind of the big dog in the ZRC lineup. This is the 3,000 meter Grand Fonds Deep Blue Project, it says it on the case back. This is the GF 50699er. 3,000 meter. That's incredible depth rating. There's a bunch of little gadgets on this that's really kind of makes this a true actual dive watch. There's a lot of watches out there that capture that category, but most people don't take them diving, but you absolutely could, and the watch could way outperform you. Before I get started on some of those details, I do want to show this crown, and it has a little bit of audible to it. It's very cool. It's not often I get watches in where you can hear click, click, like when you operate the crown. There's not a lot of that. So let me operate that. Hopefully you can hear it. Exquisite Timepieces sent this over, so I'll put a link down below. Big thanks to the crew there and Tyler. Tell them I sent you. Listen. Hopefully you can hear that. I think you probably can. The other issue with the crown, or not issue, but it's a safety thing, is it's unscrewed right now. It's not even pulled all the way out. It's just unscrewed. The link here, the end link, won't, you wouldn't be able to put this on. The bracelet wouldn't feel right. So you would instantly know that you need to screw the crown in. It's just kind of a safety mechanism. The crown at the 6 o'clock position absolutely is unorthodox and a bit of a pain to operate, but it's not that bad. Like it's pretty cool. I really dig it. It's also reverse thread. And also, I mean, while we're talking about allsoles and really pointing things out, if you look in there, look at the crown tube assembly. I mean, that is robust. It's actually kind of like a nut on the end, and that's how it's threaded into the case, I'm sure. But it's just really cool. So when you screw it in, it messes with your head, right? So you can wind it right here, but you're not going to be able to push in and screw it down. You have to push in and screw it like you're unscrewing it, and that will tighten it down. See what I mean? It's not, there's enough traction on there, and it's an 8.5 millimeter crown, so you can totally do it. Now this will clear, so then you're good. I've heard from the team at Exquisite that some people have, because it's easier to get at the crown if you go like this, don't do that. You can do it initially to break it loose, but once you're broken loose, then go like this and do it, okay? Because that's all you got to do is once it's broken loose, then you're good. And then you can snug it up there. You don't need a torque on it. So, but what happens is sometimes people will unscrew it there and then it gets jammed up against here and then they get kind of stuck with it and they got to send it in. Don't be that guy. Don't do that. Just slow down a little bit and operate it properly. So on this watch, it's good measurements. I actually like the measurements other than the thickness. But when you're dealing with a watch that can do 3,000 meters, it's going to be thick. That's just the way it is. So at the widest point, and I'm talking about this point and this point, is 41.8 millimeter. They call this a 42 millimeter watch. It's really 41.8, whatever, 42, fine. But that's from here to here at the widest point. Width-wise, it really doesn't wear like a 42. The lug to lug, because this articulates so easily, is a true 49 millimeter. Now the thickness is 19.5 millimeter, and that's because of that chamfered and really domed 5 millimeter thick sapphire crystal with AR coating. Look how clear that is. I mean, that is insanely clear. That is so cool to like look at it from those perspectives. 24 millimeter lug width that comes on these rubber straps. They're super comfortable. I don't want to say too short, but they probably could offer a longer size because on my 7.25 inch wrist, I feel like you probably can't go too much bigger, like 7.5. But if you have like an 8-inch wrist, I don't know if this will work for you. I'll show you when I put it on wrist. I already mentioned the signed crown is 8.5 millimeter and is reverse thread, double gasketed. All of those things have to be done to keep that water resistance. It is grade 2 titanium. So it weighs 133 grams. There's a look at the case back. You can see right there, it says Deep Blue Project. I didn't see any other mention of that anywhere else, only here on the case back. And then again, I don't know if they arranged it so it locks in this position, because that medallion might actually be positioned if you look at the way the case back is done. I think it might actually be positioned so it orientates itself in that direction. It says 5,000 there. I believe that's in reference to its water depth rating, because it is a 3,000 meter water depth rating watch. Proved, meaning they proved based on the specs and testing that it's guaranteed for 3,000. They test them up to 5,100 meters. I'm sure they don't go down in the ocean 5,100 meters. They do it in a controlled environment. But they've tested this watch up to 5,100 meters. So 3,000 meters is going to be a walk in the park. So that's just a little side note. Inside, of course, is the automatic Sellita SW200. I'm sure ZRC probably put the custom rotor on it, maybe does some regulation because it is accurate. 60 click bezel, ceramic bezel insert. Very nice bezel action. You got the 3 dots up top. They line up. A little bit of play in the bezel. Also up there, if you look, there's a little slot, and there's 3 letters, ECS, Easy Clean System. If you're going diving, most diving occurs in salt water. Salt water will gunk things up. It gets in between the gasket or the bezel and the case and everything. So they developed a patented system. Basically, you rinse this out with flush water, so the water will go right in there, and it goes all around the bezel, and it comes out down around the bottom. It just kind of funnels out. So it'll rinse out the salt. That's one of those things, when I started handling ZRC, I was like, oh, I mean, that makes sense. You know, but just like most things on dive watches, no, we don't need it. But if you're going to actually use it for its intended purpose, that clearly makes sense to me. You got to rinse these out, because otherwise, if you are a saltwater diver, you can probably chime in the comments and you will say, like, you have to figure out a way to rinse out your bezel because it will start to get gunky on you. I've only done a little bit of swimming in the salt water, and I've had to like take mine apart and clean it before another watch. Retail price on this through Exquisite is just under $4,000. Yeah, they're not cheap, but they're spec'd out. And really, the one I'm going to go after, I really wanted to see this titanium one. It is grade 2 titanium. I think I mentioned that. This works perfect for me. However, I love that tangerine orange one, which I've already had on the show. So when I go visit Exquisite, I'm rhyming, I will most likely pick that one up. But check how cool that is on wrist. Again, 7¼ inch wrist, and pay attention to where the strap is. So I have, there's a 4th one right there. So the 1, 2, 3, I think there's another 3rd one. But I don't have much tail left, because this keeper here is kind of captured with little nubs, and then this is your floater. So I have a few left, but as you start to progress down those, like this isn't going to get captured on there. I think the strap could have been a little bit longer. I'm not saying like super long, but maybe like another ½ inch or something. Or maybe they have another one that they offer. Because I might have a big wrist compared to some people's wrist, but I have a small wrist compared to guys with 8 or 8½ inch wrists. So everybody's got a different size wrist. It's extremely comfortable on wrist right here, partially because of the weight. It only weighs 133 grams for such a large watch. It's not unwieldy. I have it a little bit snug. I can still probably fit my finger underneath there. But that's kind of how you want to wear your watches anyway. You'll get a better wind because the watch isn't flopping around. It's stationary on your wrist, so as you do things, you'll get a better wind on the watch. But also, it negates the top heaviness that some large watches have. So if you have a larger watch or a little bit thicker watch, just wear it a little bit more snug, and it'll be comfortable. That's how you do it. Little pro tip. Where's my flashlight? Oh. I'm going to give this a quick blast with the UV light. It's not really needed because this thing has insane lume. Let's kill or turn off. I keep saying kill. Turn off the studio lights. We have excellent lume on this thing. It's bright as all heck, and it's everywhere. Bezel, dial, hands, everywhere, right? 2 different color applications as well. You're going to have like I couldn't find detailed information on it, but essentially you're going to have a C3 formula and a BGW9 formula, giving you that two-tone colorway. Looks great. I love the way ZRC looms their watches. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Reach out to Exquisite. Tell them I sent you. I'll put Tyler's contact information down below. If he doesn't get a hold of you, it's not a big deal. Just get a hold of somebody else. You can go to their website. They have that little chat thing. Just spark up a conversation. That can be your salesperson. Develop that relationship with them because you're going to be back. They're an authorized dealer for over 60 brands, and they have a pre-owned selection. So they have pretty much every watch you can think of. It's pretty awesome. See you guys on the next vid.